Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, thank you for joining. So I wanted to seek the blessings and mercy of Shri Shri Radha Shyam Radha Madhav, Krishna Balaram, Bal Gopal, Gaurita, Shri Prabhupada, Guru Maharaj. So I was hoping today we will look at the summaries of the chapters and also the lessons that come from the Bhagavad Gita, different chapters. So let's start with chapters 1 and 2. In chapter 1, Krishna makes Arjuna confront his demons, and Arjuna feels weakness of heart. And what are the confronting of the demons? Because Arjuna wanted to see who was on the other side of the battlefield. So he requested, Krishna, please take my chariot into the middle of the battlefield. I want to see who is there to fight. And Krishna immediately takes him to his most formidable opponent and also his beloved grandfather. And that makes Arjuna have weakness of heart. He submits to the Lord that he will not fight. And he gave many reasons, such as compassion, lack of enjoyment because of the killing, incurring the sin by the fighting, destroying the family and its traditions, etc. And chapter 2, Arjuna, realizing the problem was much bigger than he could handle, surrenders to Krishna and the Lord. And immediately the Lord takes him to the spiritual platform by explaining the difference between the body and the soul. And then he explains to him about the duties that one should have to perform while in this world, and also duties of the soul. And then he describes the person who is performing his duty perfectly, how he sits, how he walks, how he talks, etc. So let's just have a look at the lessons from that. Right. So, in the first chapter, especially the first verse, Dhritarashtra is asking Sanjay to tell him what is happening in the battle of Kurukshetra, because he was blind and he knew Sanjay had access to knowledge through his guru Vyasdev. So the lesson to learn that the king was aware that the battle was taking place in a holy place and his sons were unholy, so he was fearful. Being blind materially and spiritually, he sought the help of Sanjay to inform him about the battle. So the lesson is we are also blind, especially in terms of spiritual vision, and we need help as well. We must ask for help. Very important. And the second part of this chapter, from verses 2 to 11, Duryodhana was very busy counting his armies. He was blinded by greed and envy and material desires. So one who is materially entangled in terms of I, my, me, and mine becomes oblivious to the ill effects of one's actions and anxieties. Frustration and disappointment are inevitable, because in this material world, we will never be fully satisfied, we'll be happy. It's not possible, because the nature of this world, it's perfectly imperfect. So the lesson, number 2, is from our very birth, we are generally brought up in a culture of I and mine, and are always having expectations from others. And when those expectations are not met, then that leads to frustration and anger. So the lesson is we have to learn to lower our expectations from others. Don't expect anything from anyone. If something comes, it's a bonus. But we can freely give. We can freely give. But don't expect anything from others. So that's now. Then onwards, Duryodhana sees from 12 to 19 that actually the result of this confrontation is quite clear, because their hearts break when the conches are blown by Krishna and Arjuna, Yudhishthira. So lesson number 3 is being so selfish ends in misery. Compare Duryodhana and Yudhishthira. So the comparison is that Duryodhana was very proud and egoistic, whereas Yudhishthira was very humble. One time, Dronacharya asked Duryodhana to go into the kingdom of Hastinapur and find somebody better than him. So Duryodhana went to Hastinapur inside the city, and he looked, and then he came back to Dronacharya and said, I couldn't find anybody better than me. And Dronacharya asked Yudhishthira, find somebody worse than you. Yudhishthira also went to the city of Hastinapur, and he looked. He came back to Dronacharya and said, I couldn't find anybody worse than me. See the mood. See the mood. Yudhishthira was one of the most humble, most qualified persons, but yet he was so humble. He was saying, I couldn't find anybody. I have so many faults. I have so many faults. I couldn't find anybody who is worse than me. So taking from others, like Duryodhana kept doing, will not result in happiness, but giving can give great satisfaction. So we have to learn to give with our thoughts. Our thoughts need to be kind thoughts, generous thoughts. We have to be careful with our mind. 80,000 thoughts come into our mind every day, at least. And most of them are negative. Somebody's done something to us and we are upset. Somebody said something a year ago and we're still upset. So we have to change that mood from a negative mood to a positive mood. Try to avoid negative thoughts. Also, we can learn to give our words, appreciate others, be grateful for what we have. And our actions, we can help others by our deeds, according to our capacity. With our possessions, we can, according to our capacity, assist others. So like that. And then verses from 20 to 27 of chapter 1. Arjuna wanted to take a final look at the armies. So he orders Krishna, his transcendental charioteer, to drive to the middle of the battlefield so he can assess the situation. Krishna takes Arjuna in front of Bhishma, the greatest challenge. So lesson 4, despite the intensity of the situation, Arjuna takes time to reflect. Life may be crammed with responsibilities and pressing issues. We all know, right? We're all busy. We all got things to do. But the usual excuse of no time should not impede our soul searching or any spiritual activity. We have to find time for bhakti. Have to find time. If we can't find time for bhakti, we are the great loser. Summary of 28 to 30. Foreseeing the imminent suffering and death that is inevitable consequence of war, Arjuna begins to analyze his predicament. At this stage, bereft of broader spiritual vision, he becomes bewildered. This is where Arjuna, looking at the army, especially Bhishma and Dronacharya and Kripacharya, he is becoming weak of mind, heart. Lesson 5. Krishna will bring us to face our unwanted challenges according to our ability. And we should not be shaken by these challenges. And there's a very nice saying in the Indian army: the more we sweat in peace, the less you bleed in war. So the more we do bhakti while the situation is calm, be better when challenges come our way. We'll be able to cope with those challenges because of the bhakti. When we practice bhakti, when the situation is calm and good, we will be able to face the challenging situations. Next section of chapter 1. Arjuna justifies his decision to retreat from fighting as follows, says this: we have to have compassion. It would be cruel and heartless to prematurely terminate the lives of so many soldiers. How will we enjoy? Second point. Even an unrivaled kingdom would bring no happiness, since they would be bereft of the company of his near and dear ones. Everybody would be killed, practically speaking. How can we enjoy? Also, it's sin. We should be surely not accruing bad karma, because that's what will happen as a result of the fighting. Family will be destroyed. Wholesale killing involves destroying the family unit and social structure, causing havoc for future generations. He also said that if we kill these people, who will look after the women? Women are protected by the men. Men are dead, who will look after them? And they'll become polluted, and unwanted progeny will come. And that will lead to a loss of tradition. So, good arguments. So on that basis, Arjuna resolved not to fight. So lesson 6, we will often come up with excuses not to do bhakti. Just like Arjuna has found excuses not to fight, we will also find excuses not to do bhakti. I am too young to do tapasya. When I'm old, I will then take to remembering God. But we know that's not so easy, right? Because there's always something going on. And when we're old, we're going to be diseased and not in good health. How will we think of God if we haven't thought about him throughout our life? Second excuse, let me enjoy myself right now. Let me enjoy. I'm still young. Let me enjoy my senses. Later on, I will take to God consciousness. Another excuse is, my family worships demigods. I can't stop worshipping demigods. And fourth excuse, Krishna consciousness is not in my family tradition. So they sort of correlate with these excuses that Arjuna also brought. And also, of course, the most common excuse, I have no time. I have no time. So we will do bhakti when we're old. So we have to be very careful of our excuses, as they will hamper our progress in Krishna consciousness. If there's an opportunity to serve, take it with both hands. If there's a compelling reason why not to do it, fair enough. But service is very important. Then, so that's the four lessons from chapter 1. Dhritarashtra seeks help from Sanjay. We should lower expectation, give rather than take, and take time to contemplate. And watch our excuses as well. Meet our challenges. As the Lord is on our side. And watch the excuses not to do that. So chapter 1, although many consider that as not an important chapter because Krishna hardly says anything, but actually we gain 6 lessons from chapter 1. That's the most from any chapter, 6 lessons. So actually it's the most important chapter, because so many things to learn from chapters 1. So chapter 2. Determined not to fight, but simultaneously torn and confused, Arjuna approaches Krishna. I am in dire need of your guidance. He humbly submits. Please enlighten me so that I can mitigate my miserable condition. He actually surrenders to Krishna. Text number 7, he surrenders to Krishna. Through Arjun's example, we learn the first fundamental step in spirituality. One must approach a guru who comes in an authentic lineage of teachers and who has mastered spiritual art. Most things in life require guidance and instruction under a qualified teacher, and the spiritual discipline is no different. One may argue that everything they require for their spirituality is contained within. And while this may be true, we still require help to awaken that pure inner consciousness. So yeah, we are spirit souls. We are pure living entities. But because we are covered at the moment by our illusion through the three modes of material nature, Sattvagun, Rajagun, Tamagun, we are acting on that platform. And we need help to come out of this mentality. As the saying goes, one who accepts himself as a guru accepts a fool for a disciple. And the Lord himself sets the standard. Although he's the absolute truth, all-knowing, still he accepts a spiritual master when he descends to earth. So it's quite a lot there. So next section. Krishna begins by teaching Arjuna. This is the first instruction of the Gita by Krishna. The most fundamental understanding of spiritual life. And there's nothing more important than this to understand. As the driver operates a car, or as a bird lives in a cage, we, spirit soul, are similarly utilizing this body. So this body is just like a car, a vehicle. And we are inside the vehicle. Although living within the body, we are simultaneously different from it, temporarily operating it to perform activities, to fulfill our desires and interact with the world around us. So we are very, very much in a temporary situation. This distinction is the first teaching that the Guru imparts. Every moment our bodies are changing. We do not have the same body that we did when we were children, but we still remain the same person. What is it that is not changing? This is very crucial. It is important to realize our true identity as spirit soul. Otherwise, we will continuously undergo the process of reincarnation. We'll never leave out of this world. We'll keep getting bodies after body after body. One who dies will be born. One who is born will die. And will accept unnatural material bodies. Unnatural because they are temporary, subject to death. Unnatural because the soul is eternal, never dies. And the subsequent sufferings and distresses of life in this material world. So at least once a day, it's a really nice lesson. Look in the mirror and say to ourselves, I am not this body, I am pure spirit soul, servant of the Supreme Soul. So this is a good thing to do, especially first thing in the morning, because it gets you off on a good start. I am not this body, I am spirit soul, connected or servant of the Supreme Lord. Very, very sweet prayer. Third theme in this chapter, number 2. How does such knowledge practically affect our day-to-day life in the real world? So it's all well and good. Krishna is giving some theoretical philosophy to Arjuna. You are not the body, you are the soul. So how's that going to help you? Okay, so this knowledge is very practical. It affects our day-to-day life in the real world. Krishna addresses this by explaining the 2 essential duties of the spirit soul. Dharma. Dharma means duty, or dharma can also mean religion. But duty is perhaps a better definition. Dharma basically is that which is integral part of us. Just like heat is integral to fire. Wetness is integral to water. If the water is not wet, there's no meaning to water. If the fire is not hot, there's no meaning to fire. So in the same way, We have a dharma, we have a duty, we have a duty. That dharma. What is the dharma of the soul? The dharma of the soul is to serve. Just like the dharma of fire is heat, dharma of the soul is to serve, do his duty. So dharma translates as duty, but it actually refers to the intrinsic characteristics and qualities of something that cannot be avoided, neglected, or negated. And there are two types of dharma. The soul has a swadharma, a worldly duty, which consists of responsibilities towards family, friends, society. And it's all connected to the body. And the soul also has a second duty, a more permanent duty, sanatan duty, eternal duty, as an eternal spiritual duty which comprises of one's relationship with God, nature, and all living entities. So very important to understand, there's two dharmas side by side, the material dharma and the spiritual dharma. And we have to do both. We can't leave our swadharma, leave home and go to the forest, because then we are neglecting our duty. And at the same time, we must try to do sanatan dharma, our eternal duty as servant of Krishna. Very important. So lesson number 9, one has to learn to execute both dharmas side by side. And it's very possible, no problem. They should not conflict with each other. Many individuals neglect their sanatan dharma, being too preoccupied with their swadharma. On the other extreme, individuals can prematurely reject their swadharma and falsely try to absorb themselves in sanatan. So the most progressive path is to be fully alert to both duties, and in doing so, lead a happy and balanced material and spiritual life. So this is fundamental, very important. Okay, the last part of chapter 2. Arjuna asks this question: how does a person who's performing his duties sit? So when he says sit, how does he restrain his senses? How does he not get overtaken by his senses? He wants to always enjoy. No, how does he control himself? How does he walk? How does he engage his senses? What does he do with his sense of touch, sense of sight, sense of hearing, sense of smelling, all of these different senses? And how does he talk? How does he respond to provocative situations? So something happens, karma comes and affects him. How does he react? So these are very important questions. The profile of the person who has performed both the duties perfectly is described by the Lord. Such a person becomes Atmaram, spiritually realized, who finds pleasure in the self. Krishna explains how the Atmarama is unaffected by happiness or distress, gain or loss, honor or dishonor. Transcending the dualities of this world, such a spiritualist rids himself of qualities such as fear, attachment, and anger. He remains absorbed in spiritual delight and transcendental consciousness. This is an incredible part of the chapter. Especially, Krishna explains a couple of things. One thing he says, even one of the senses can take away the mind of even an intelligent person. So we shouldn't be too proud of ourselves. And he also says that when the senses attack, just like when the tortoise is attacked, he draws his limbs within his shell. So when the senses attack us, sometimes we have to draw within and pray to the Lord for protection. Lesson 10. If we are able to restrain the senses by nipping it in the bud, then we will save ourselves a great deal of grief and anguish. And with the blessings of Guru and Govinda, be on the way to become self-satisfied in Krishna consciousness, even whilst living in this crazy world. So this is a very, very nice pastime. Very nice instruction from Bhagavad Gita. So we have to try to control our senses by nipping it in the bud, which means as soon as we get an idea that we are wanting to enjoy, we try to curb that enjoying mentality. Nip it in the bud. Okay, let's do chapter 3 as well. So there's chapter 2, there's 4 instructions. Approach a spiritual master. Daily repeat to ourselves, we are the soul, not the body. Do both Swadharma and Sanatana Dharma, and restrain the senses by nipping it in the bud. 4 nice lessons. These are very powerful lessons. There's a lot of lessons to learn from. In fact, this is nothing. What we have got, we just tip of the iceberg. Chapter 3. So again, there'll be 4 instructions. Arjuna displays a typical confusion. Yes, Bhagavad.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, and all the devotees. Just one. It's not a question, but the way you say that, repeat every day. We are soul, not the body. So what does actually it does?
Right. You know, once you repeat something many, many times, you start to believe it. It sort of becomes ingrained into our psyche, into our mind.
We are soul, we are not body. We are soul, we are not body.
And if you do it at the same time every day, then you won't forget. So I normally have a shower, and then just after I finish the shower, I
just say
that to myself. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Thank you.
every day after the shower, I say
yes.
that. After the shower, you're completely fresh.
Fresh, yeah. Okay. Now it's good because it's too many words and you're telling today, which is very nice.
Thank
you. Quite interesting. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Just carry on, please.
Okay. So Arjuna displays the typical confusion of an immature spiritualist. So he's thinking, okay, spirituality means retirement from active life. He's thinking, if I become bhakta, I don't have to do anything. I can just become sannyasi and leave the world and just live in strict seclusion. So it's often the easiest response in times of difficulty is one of escapism. When things are going hard, sometimes you just want to get into the bed and hide under the covers. Worldly life entails awkward dealings with money, possessions, people, and career, to name but a few. How can such a lifestyle be compatible with spiritual goals? So we are deeply entangled in this world, right? So many things to do, so many friends to meet, so many people to serve, so many things to do, so much. Krishna explains that the true renunciation does not entail abandonment of worldly duties. Carry on with your duties. Because we will act anyway. Even if you abandon the world, you're still going to do something according to your nature. But instead, cultivate the mentality one should act for the Lord's satisfaction. If anything I do, I want to please the Lord. I go and visit my friend. Yes, I will treat him nicely. I will try to explain to him about Krishna as well if I get a chance. I will show by my example how I am trying to become God conscious. So in that way, you're pleasing God. So many things. You can dovetail anything into God consciousness. So what's the lesson? Offering the results of one's daily work, money, knowledge, etc., to the Lord, knowing Him to be the ultimate enjoyer and controller, may be a state of renunciation beyond us at this moment. We might not be able to offer everything. However, we can begin by offering our gratitude to the Lord and request Him to engage us in His service. So every day we should thank the Lord. Thank you, my dear, for allowing us to wake up and spend another day in your company. Thank you so much. Giving us the opportunity to serve you, to become a little bit more closer to you. So that's a very, very nice thing to do. Okay. Verses 10 to 16 of chapter 3, the yoga ladder with different rungs is described as follows. On the lowest level, we just are materialistic, animalistic, eating, sleeping, mating, defending. One stage higher is karma kand, where we still want to enjoy materially, but we want to do it through a religious process. So we worship the devatas, and in return, the devatas give us things. That's karma kand. Yes, Sunil.
Hare Krishna. Hari Bol, dear devotees. Prabhuji, this on the lower level, an individual, etc. Does it has an Sanskrit word?
There is, what was it? Dvipada Pashu, which means two-legged animal.
Yeah, Pashu is an animal.
Yeah, and Dyu is two, Pashu. Dvipada, two-legged. Dyu is two, Pada, leg.
So you that means equal to two-legged animals.
Well, yeah, we are like two-legged animals. Normally, animals at least have four legs, but we are animals who have two legs. This is the effectively what.
That's clear. Thank you.
At this level, you're just an animal, but you have two legs.
Okay, go ahead. Thank you. Hari Bol.
Is that okay? When one realizes the futility of material enjoyment, they progress to Sakarma Karma Yoga, where one begins to offer a portion of his results to God, but still maintains some selfish motivation, such as name and fame. But then the next stage is the highest level of Karma Yoga, Nishkam Karma, where one accepts whatever necessities he requires to maintain himself, but offers everything else to God in a selfless mood. That's very close to Bhakti. How can that become Bhakti Yoga? From Nishkam Karma Yoga is where you perform activities just for the pleasure of God, for the pleasure of Krishna. That becomes Bhakti Yoga. Those who progress to this level of spirituality, Nishkam Karma Yoga, break free from all karmic implications and become peaceful and liberated. So the lesson for this is, whatever you cook, offer that to the Lord. It becomes prasad, which you can also eat in honor. If you're already offering, be careful, as we can enjoy with our eyes or smell. Also, if already offered, then take to the next stage, i.e., my dear Lord, what do you want to eat? I will cook what you want to eat. So that's a little harder, of course, because we may not be able to get the messages from the Lord. What does he want to eat? But often, Krishna will give a message. He will talk through somebody else. Oh, have you tried this? And, if our mood is, I want to cook something that you would like, he will definitely get messages to us. It might take a little while for us to understand those messages, but they will come. So whatever we cook, offer it to God. It becomes prasad. And prasad is the only thing we eat or honor. Lesson 3 in Karma Yoga chapter. Karma Yoga is outlined as the practical process by which one overcomes his material attachments through working as a matter of duty in this world. So what about one who has achieved perfection through Karma Yoga? Do they continue working? So can they retire, simply meditate on God, now that they're free from all selfish motivation? Krishna explains how even perfected spiritualists continue working in this world for the sole purpose of setting the proper example for others to follow and be inspired. So then Krishna gives an example of how Janak was perfect, but yet he continued to work. So many others he describes as well. So lesson number 13 is living the philosophy, practicing Bhakti Yoga will free us from the entanglement of this world and set an example for all, especially important preachers. So what does this mean? Chanting, should chant Hare Krishna on beats, should read the scriptures, such as Bhagavad, Bhagavad. Very important, every day. And then the final part of Karma Yoga. Arjuna asked Krishna, in life, even though I know the best course of action, what is it that impels me again and again to act improperly? Why am I committing sin? Krishna then explains that the root cause of this sinful activity is the eternal enemy called lust. Krishna explains the seating places of this lust in the heart, in the mind, in the intelligence. These are the seating places. He also states that lust must be nipped in the bud by regulating the senses. The mind is higher than the senses, so the mind should control the senses. But higher than the mind is intelligence, and higher than intelligence is us, the soul. So lesson number 14 is to regulate the senses, destroy the lust at its source. How do we do that? Follow 4 rules and regulations. No meat eating, fish eggs, onion, garlic. No intoxications. No drinking. Even if possible, try to avoid drinks with caffeine, like coffee, tea, if possible. No gambling, and no illicit relationships with other sex. Secondly, sharpen the intelligence by chanting and hearing. The second part is to strengthen the mind through logic, to follow the rules and regulations. So this is, we've done 3 chapters, and I want to stop. Oh, yes, this is a quick summary of 11 words. Lesson 11, be grateful to the Lord for everything and ask him to do seva for it. Offer our bhoga and eat prasad, and chant Mahamantra and read Bhagavad and follow the 4 rules. This is chapter 3, very powerful chapter. All of these chapters are amazing chapters. Each one of them has something special about it. So let's stop there. Any questions? Any comments?
So can we say soul and Sukshma Sarir are both they are equal or different?
Sorry?
Our soul and Sukshma Sarir.
What's Sukshma Sarir?
What Sukshma Sarir? You know the body, 2 type of body. Subtle body or Sukshma Sarir?
Subtle body. No, different. Very good question. Madhuban, very good question. We have 2 types of bodies. One is gross, made of earth, water, fire, air, ether. Second is made of intelligence. The second body is subtle. We can't see it. Mind, intelligence, and ego. That is different from the soul. When we leave this body, the subtle body, mind, intelligence, ego, will take the soul to the next body. So we are different from the subtle body, from the sukha.
They're both different, yeah? You can't say both equal. No.
Very good. Very good question. Not both equal. And how can we tell? When we're sitting and meditating, or chanting a mantra, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, we'll see the mind go.
Yeah, yeah.
And the soul can say to the mind, come back again. So that's how we know we are not the mind. We are the controller of the mind.
So soul and chit, they both same or not?
Yeah.
They
Soul
both
is
same.
Chit. Soul
Okay.
is Sat Chit Anand.
Okay, okay. Now I understand. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
You're
Thank
right. No, thank you. Thank you. Very good questions. Very good question. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Papa Ben, anything? Okay, otherwise we can stop today. Oh, no, you're muted, huh?
Sorry. Yeah, Madhuben just asked about like, what was it, soul and Suksma Sarir? Is it separate or different? And you said it was different. So I was writing it down. You said mind and what else did you say?
Mind, intelligence.
Let me just write down mind, elegant, yeah?
Buddhi, ne, ahankar.
Buddhi.
Ahankar, ego.
And ego, yeah. It is separate from the soul.
Yes, it's separate from the soul. Correct.
That's right. Thank you. Because I was writing as you said it. Because it's nice to know from like all the bhaktas, you know, all the devotees. It's asked good question. Thank you.
Nice.
I mean, yeah, very nice. In earlier, you said something about that we are never happy and we are always expecting more and more from everybody, which is true. And something else you said something about that we like Duryodhan, he's telling that Krishna asked, go and find anybody better than you. He never found anybody. And then Yudhishthira worse than me, then he never found anybody. And something else also. You said something about like we never forget what is told in the past, and
that's it.
We keep we are still thinking. You are telling 8,000 thoughts going in our mind.
80,000.
80,000. And we want to forget it, but we can't forget it because it keeps coming back. Even past in 20 years, somebody has said you, and you still come back. Oh, somebody said me this. How can I forget?
Yeah, and we want our revenge.
Yes, we don't want the revenge, but it is coming in the mind. Why they done this? Why they done
very
this
painful.
to us? It has been painful. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you for today's satsang.
Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai.